Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Confessions of a Gaming Mum. So today I am going to do a video on what to pack in your hospital bag. When it came to me packing my hospital bag, even though I was going in for a home birth, I knew that there was a chance that that wouldn't happen. So I thought what would be a better idea would be for me to actually pack the hospital bag with the stuff that I'd also need for the home birth. So everything would be together for the home birth for my husband to get to, but also if I needed to be rushed to hospital, everything would be together, so it would just be a matter of shoving it in the car and going, or in the ambulance. And as you all know, that's what ended up happening. I ended up being rushed to the hospital to have a forceps delivery, so it was very lucky that I'd had everything packed. I mean, you go on a lot of the home birth groups and they go on about the fact that you shouldn't pack a bag because then it bad luck or something. It's a load of crap. It's like, so what you're going to do if like worst comes to the worst, like worst case scenario, you don't get that home birth and you have to be rushed into hospital, you have nothing with you, it's stupid. You might as well be prepared for whatever situation that's going to come your way. So even if you're having a home birth, pack a hospital bag, because for one thing it means your husband will know where everything is if he needs to get something for you at the home birth. So definitely pack a hospital bag. But anyway, when it comes to a hospital bag, I think I stress so much about what to put in it, because you'd hear like conflicting advice on the mum groups, from midwives, from the hospital, you'd hear all these different things. It really depends personally on what you want to take with you, like things that you find comforting, or just things that make you feel that bit more secure, a bit more relaxed and everything like that. But in general, there's 3 bags you need to take. You need to take obviously one for yourself, one for the baby, and most people forget this, stuff for your partner, your birthing partner, because obviously they will need stuff as well. So I've broken them down into the 3, so I will go through them individually. Some of the stuff I have, so I can like have a visual representation of what I'm talking about. Other stuff is up in the loft, or has been thrown out because obviously my son is over 6 months now, so I've got no need for it. But yeah, so I'll show what I can, and obviously when I say pyjamas, you'll know what pyjamas are and stuff like that, but I just thought it's nice to have a visual representation on what I'm talking about. Shall we get started? So the first bag I'm going to go on about is the mother's bag, because one, it's the most important, because this is stuff for when you're in labour as well as for after the labour. Especially if you're spending a few days in hospital, it does really help to have things that you really do need and want with you to make sure you don't actually go stir crazy. And also it's going to be the biggest bag, even though obviously you would think you'd need more for a newborn baby, really you don't, and because they're so tiny, it fits all in a smaller bag anyway. So start with mothers. First and foremost, in the mother's bag, the most important thing that you need to have is your maternity notes. The amount of times your midwives stress this, that you must take your maternity notes with you wherever you go, but obviously the most important is when you actually give birth, because just because you have a midwife that sees you every single week for months on end when you're pregnant does not mean you're going to have that exact midwife when you give birth. And also because that midwife sees several women a day, each day, every month, every year, she's not going to remember every little detail about your pregnancy. So you really, really need to have your maternity notes with you. I cannot stress that enough. It's so important that you have your notes with you. Even if your pregnancy is like flown by, is really easy, you'll also have your birth plan in there as well. So there's just, it's definitely something you need. It's the most important thing that you have in your bag, and like literally have it on the top of your bag when you go, pretty much, so you can just whip it out as soon as you get to the hospital. Next important thing is nightdress or pyjamas. Depending on if you're breastfeeding or not. If you're breastfeeding, it's best to try and go with something that you can button up, because obviously when you first start breastfeeding, it's you'll think fingers and thumbs anyway, trying to figure out what you're doing. So rather than having a top that you have to completely take over your head when your baby's crying for food and you're in a bit of a state, you're tired and stuff, it's just better just to be able to go for a button-up version. But as long as you're comfortable in it, that's obviously the most important thing, is you have to be comfortable, you have to be warm, although most maternity wards are like furnaces anyway. Yeah, but it's super important that you're comfortable. That's the most important thing. Leading on from that, it's loose, comfortable clothing. So this counts for when you're in labour, when you're recovering in hospital, and also for when you're going home. For when you're in labour, it's best to just have like a nightie, just like a loose baggy nightie to wear. A lot of the time you just end up whipping that off just like completely naked on the bed, no dignity whatsoever in the labour ward. And also if you're looking to go for a water birth, a bikini top, don't worry about the bottoms, obviously, because the baby's coming out that way. So yeah, just the bikini top is also something that you need to think about packing. And also when you've had the baby and you're in the hospital, the last thing you think about is how you look. Again, I think most of the time I just walked around in my pyjamas and baggy trousers. That's literally all I wore. You really don't care. You're just so tired. All you want to do, you just want to be comfortable. Also, if you have, because obviously like some people might plan it, or it might be something that you haven't planned, but you should always prepare for it. And that's if you have a C-section. I would suggest that you go for like baggy trousers that you can wear underneath and where the C-section scar would go, so you can actually wear them quite low. That, or like a loose dress, so it completely covers it. The same with like knickers, even knickers that, well, I don't think most knickers go under the scar, where the incision would be, so you'd have to wear like high-waisted knickers, but nothing too tight, obviously, that would put pressure on the stitches or anything. Slippers or warm socks. If you're staying within the maternity ward and you're going to be wanting to walk around because you'll go completely stir crazy, you'll need to wear something on your feet, because you don't really want to be walking around in that ward without something on your feet. Also, if your labour's really long, you'll want to be walking around as well. You won't want to be sat there. If you're allowed to move, you will want to be moving. So it's really good to have something for your feet. Like I said, you just want to be as comfortable as possible. I can't express that enough. You need to be as comfortable as possible. Even though you're in somewhere completely different, treat it as if you're at home, basically. So that's how you've got to think of it. You've just got to let all sort of anxieties go and just be like, this is basically my second home. I don't give a shit what I look like. I don't give a shit what people think of how I look. I'm comfortable, and that's all that matters. Another thing is toiletries. Now this can obviously be anything from just shower gel, shampoo, toothpaste, toothbrush. Obviously they're the most important things that you need, because when you go to the hospital, you're gonna so want to shower after having that, after pushing that baby out. So, and it will just make you feel so much more human afterwards. I mean, it won't be very, it will be very messy, because obviously there will be a lot of bleeding underneath. But yeah, you'll be so thankful for that shower afterwards. So I'd also say deodorant again, because that just makes you feel so much better about yourself, because you're going to be very clammy. There'll be liquids coming from every hole in your body. You'll be, i.e. you'll be sweating a lot. It's worth definitely taking some deodorant to at least make you feel that you're not as disgusting as you feel. Things I wouldn't worry about is like makeup, face wipe. I mean, face wipes I suppose you could do, because they could like freshen up your face if you feel tired. It's nice to have like a cold, like, so flannel would do, just to splash cold water on your face. Obviously don't use fem wipes, don't use any sort of the toilet wet wipes that you can get. Just don't touch them, because you're going to be very sensitive underneath, and you're not going to want anything that's like got more chemicals than pure water. You're not going to want any of that down there right away. Forget about makeup, forget about straighteners. Take a hairbrush obviously, but yeah, just don't worry about straighteners or hairdryer or anything. You're really not going to care. I didn't care. You might care, but I honestly did not give a shit about what my hair or my face looked like. I was just so tired and just overwhelmed by this new life that I brought into the world, that those things just did not matter at that point in time. So I'm sure they went with you. Lip balm. Now this is something my sister actually bought me to put in my hospital bag. I never actually thought anything of it, but what she actually said, and what proved to be the case, when you use gas and air, it really dries out your lips. And also with your huffing and puffing when you're in labour, your lips can really dry out. You get a really dry mouth, so like you can't be licking your lips all the time. So lip balm can be a real godsend, and I would highly recommend taking it with you. If you don't take any makeup, at least take lip balm with you. Now this is something that we talked about a lot in like hypnobirthing. I don't think a lot of people really mention it outside of it, but I think it's something that can really help. So like anything to do with smells, so any massage oils, aromatherapy oils, anything, even like your favorite perfume, just spray it onto your pillow that you take with you to the hospital. Anything that gives a smell that helps to relax you, or like your favourite smell, something that you just love to smell, like just stick under your nose. So for me it was my favourite perfume. I just sprayed my pillow with my favourite perfume, because I absolutely love that perfume. And it just really, it made me feel at home, and it just makes you feel so much more relaxed. You can't overestimate how much it really does help. So I would definitely highly suggest taking something that you love the smell of. You can take like diffusers. Obviously you can't take smelly candles with fire risk, but you can buy the electric diffusers that set off scents. So you're allowed to take them into hospital, the electric ones. Just don't take any like oil burners or anything like that, because you can't use those. But I'd highly recommend taking something that like a smell that really helps you to relax. Something else that's really important as well is entertainment. Things like books. I can't express enough how important these things are. You need things to be able to take your mind off what you're going through or what you've been through or where you are, things like that. So music, download as much of like your favorite TV show as you can, movies, put it onto your phone, onto your tablet, onto your laptop, anything, like as much as possible. Like I said, books, have your favourite music. Again, when I was in labour at home, I listened to some classical music because it really helped relax me while I was in the pool, and it really helped. It didn't help with the midwife talking over it a lot of the time, but listen to the sort of music that really helps to relax you is fantastic. And also because, again, you might be having a really long labour, so the contractions come and go for hours, so having something to read or to occupy your time while you're waiting for the labour to progress is so important, and like I cannot recommend entertainment enough. Another thing you'll need is a bath towel. Obviously this goes along with the toiletries, so when you have a shower you'll obviously need to take your own bath towel with you. I would also stipulate that either take something that's very dark, like a dark blue or black towel, or one that's really old and you don't mind getting stains, because like I said earlier, like you're going to be bleeding a lot down there, so when you get out the shower you're going to need to be wiping and you're not going to have a clean towel after that. So it's really worth just taking an old one that you don't mind throwing away afterwards, or a dark one that you won't be able to see the stains on. Hate to be graphic, but it's the way things are. Another thing you need, again this is very important, is maternity sanitary towels. Again, I don't have any on me because I put them all up in the loft for next time, so I can't show you, but I will highly recommend Boots' own ones that they do, and they do like really thick ones, so they're really good at catching everything straight after the birth. Also they are so soft. They're not like, do not use regular sanitary towels, especially if you've got stitches down there. I couldn't think of anything worse than having a regular sanitary towel. The Boots ones are just like super soft. I mean, obviously you know that you're wearing them, but it doesn't irritate you down below. Like I said, you don't really need any further irritation down there. So yeah, I'd highly recommend them. They do like the thick ones, and they also do the thin ones for when your the bleeding has lightened a lot. So yeah, definitely recommend them. At the time that I was buying them, they were 3 for 2. So, but I don't know if they're doing that anymore. But yeah, anyway, I would definitely recommend you get some of those. They're fantastic. Obviously I have these to show. Big black knickers. The bigger the better. Basically, yeah, because you don't know if you're going to go in for a C-section, you don't know what's going to happen to your underneath, so you don't want anything tight. You want to be able for things to be able to breathe down there. So the baggiest you can get it is the best, really, and also black, because even though you're going to be wearing these sanitary towels, you don't know how heavy your bleed is going to be. Like, you could fall asleep for a couple of hours and you end up leaking. You just don't know. So obviously it's worth taking black so you don't get all the horrible stains that you can do if you do leak. So definitely worth it. And this is something if you're breastfeeding. Again, this is something I would highly recommend. So obviously it's a feeding bra. Feeding bras are what I was reiterating if you're breastfeeding. But these I would definitely recommend. From Mothercare I got these. So these are like nighttime feeding bras. I wouldn't recommend getting an actual breastfeeding bra until your milk supply is kind of settled, because yeah, your boobs may have grown while you were pregnant, but they will probably explode after you've had the baby because of your milk coming in. So you really don't know what your cup size is going to be. My boobs still haven't gone down to what they were before I was pregnant, so there really is no point in buying a cup, like something where you have to know your cup size basically. So these I'd highly recommend, because obviously they're just a rough size and you don't have to give a cup size or anything. And obviously you clip down, so then you can whip the boob out. I still wear these, that's why it looks so horrible and grey. But yeah, I still wear these overnight and they are super comfortable. They're just so practical for when your baby wakes up in the night and they need a feed, so like I said, you just clip this, whip the boob out. It's perfect. So yeah, these are the ones I'd recommend. You get 2, I think, for like, they are quite expensive, so it's worth going when Mothercare have their sort of deals on, like the mother and baby days that they have on. It's worth picking these up, definitely. I can't remember, I think it was like 2 for 15 maybe. So yeah, definitely worth picking those up. So along with the feeding bras, again, if you're breastfeeding, is breast pads. Again, these are reusable ones that I stick in the washing machine once I've worn them for a couple of hours, because where I breastfeed. But if you're either not planning on breastfeeding or you're still trying, again, I would recommend Boots. They do disposable ones, buy a big box. They do the thick ones. I won't buy the thin ones, not when you first had the baby, because you'll be leaking a lot. So yeah, I go for the disposable ones, and you can buy it. They come in like a big box, and there's like a plastic tube of them. So yeah, so I would definitely go for the Boots one again, because they're really good. And if it's 3 for 2, then it just makes it even more of a bargain. Another very important thing, snacks and fluids. So with the snacks, it's very important because you like to have things that have a lot of sugar, pretty much, because basically they say with labour you're basically running a marathon, because you're just expelling so much energy, and you end up, you could pretty much be running on empty, so you really need all that sugar. Hence why they always suggest isotonic drinks. So obviously if you're in the UK, isotonic drink would mean Lucozade, and I would highly recommend Lucozade Sport, because they don't really like you drinking fizzy drinks when you're in labour, because obviously it can upset your stomach, and you don't really want to be uncomfortable like burping and having gas when you're trying to sort of push a baby out. So I would buy as many bottles of Lucozade Sport that you can, because not only is it fantastic during labour, it's also fantastic once the baby's here, because you're going to be absolutely exhausted. And for me, I just downed so many bottles of Lucozade Sport because it just kept me going, and it really kept me hydrated rather than coffee, especially if you're trying to breastfeed, because breastfeeding can actually really dehydrate you. So the Lucozade Sport keeps your energy up, but it also keeps you hydrated as well. So that's something like a personal thing that I thought, like, I was glad I did. When it comes to snacks, they normally suggest that you don't have chocolate, because chocolate can make you very sick, and obviously you're going to be, well, you can be sick anyway. I was during the labour, but yeah, having chocolate is not a good idea. So they say things like jelly babies are really, really good because of the sugar content. Anything that's like a slow releasing carbohydrate, they really, really suggest. So yeah, to just like slow releasing carbs to help keep your energy up. I mean, I didn't really listen to the whole chocolate thing, so I end up having like chocolate raisins and chocolate peanuts and stuff, because obviously it helps to fill up your stomach, as well as the chocolate giving you sugar to keep you going. Unfortunately for me, because my mouth got so dry, I didn't really feel like eating, so I didn't really eat a lot, which is a bad thing. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to drink a lot and eat a lot, or eat as much as you can anyway. So that's ended up why I got so exhausted. So definitely, like, I can't stress that enough. You need to drink as much as possible, and you need to eat as much as possible as well, to make sure that you keep your energy levels up, because pushing a baby out is a lot of hard work. Again, you have the whole thing to, like, items to personalise your environment, your birthing environments. Like I said, the pillow with the perfume is good one, music, and just anything. Like, you can have pictures. Like, you may think this is stupid, but it can really, really help. So pictures on the walls and different things like that. Eye masks to help, and like just anything that makes you feel like you're more at home rather than being in a hospital is a positive in my eyes, because you need to make it as relaxing as possible. Again, I'm going to do a video on why I chose a home birth, and also about hypnobirthing classes, because I think it really, really does make sense, and I'm surprised a lot of people don't really do it, to be honest. So yeah, so that's something I'm going to go on about in another video. Another important thing to take with you is a pen, because when it comes to signing you out, you need to be able to sign yourself out. And also, if there's anything you need to sign away, so obviously if you have to go in for a C-section that wasn't planned, or you need to have an epidural, or anything like that that requires your say, it's worth having a pen to hand, because sometimes they don't, like a midwife might not have one in the spare at the moment or whatever, so always worth having one. And also, you never know, you might want to do like a crossword or something while you're in the middle of labour, because it's just taken so long. So always worth having a pen to hand. And last but by no means least, I don't have it with me, I forgot to pick it up, but it's something that's really, really important, and that's taking your own paracetamol and ibuprofen, because during labour you can have paracetamol, that's fine. But afterwards you're probably going to be in a lot of pain, and you can't rely on the midwives to get it for you. They've got so many other things to worry about rather than the fact you might have a slight headache or you're a bit sore underneath. They hear that all the time, like every day. They might have a woman in the next room whose baby is like really, really sick and she's in hysterics. So they're more thinking of that poor woman over there than you would like asking for paracetamol. So you can ask for paracetamol and 3 hours later you still might not have it. So it's always worth taking it yourself. There's also the whole thing of the fact that it costs the NHS an absolute fortune to supply paracetamol and ibuprofen. I think it costs them like £15 a box or something like that. It's so ridiculous, so they get ripped off for it. I bought the paracetamol and the ibuprofen that I took with me to the hospital, Boots own brand, 35p for like 16 tablets. It's nothing. So that's another thing you should really, really consider is paracetamol, ibuprofen, just take it in your bag. One, you don't have to worry about bothering the midwives about it, so you can take the pain relief when you want it, and also you're saving the NHS a lot of money. No brainer, really. Also, I forgot to mention dressing gown. Your dressing gown is quite important for when you're walking around the hospital, so like just to cover yourself up, give yourself a bit of decency. Or if you go to have a shower and you don't really want to get fully dressed, you can just put some like underwear on, cover yourself in your dressing gown and go back to your room or whatever. So yeah, it's all about the comfort when you've just had a baby, so like your own dressing gown is gonna make you feel a lot more comfortable. So again, highly recommended. Okay, so the next bag we're going to go on about is the baby's bag. Like I said, this is going to be a bit smaller because obviously mums need the most stuff, but these things are also just as important because it's for your newborn baby. So obviously you need clothes for your newborn baby, so you'll have short sleeve vests, so take like 2 or 3 of these, and you'll also need long sleeve vests, especially depending on what time of the year you go. Obviously in the winter you'll need a lot more long sleeve than you will the short sleeve, and it's quite important that you have like layers that you can put on your baby, because where they can't moderate their own temperature, so they can get cold very, very quickly. You'll also find that maternity wards are very, very warm, so they always insist on babies wearing as many layers as possible. It's also worth noting, it's worth taking different sizes as well, because obviously you won't know the size your baby's going to be when they're born, so they may not actually fit the clothes that you've bought. So like I took, I think, 2 outfits that were newborn size, which is, I think they say maximum £7.5. My son was £9 7 ounces. So as soon as we tried to put him in the newborn, we were like, oh no, it should fit him, it should be fine. But they were absolutely tiny. So luckily we'd bought more 0 to 3 month old, which fit him fine for 3 months of his life. So yeah, so it's always worth packing like one of each size or something. But yeah, always pack a few, so you can, just in case as well, if they leak on them and you've got nowhere to wash them really. So it's always worth packing quite a few. Sleep suits. Also think these are quite big, obviously, because my son is over 6 months old. All his newborn stuff is in the loft, and I cried when I put them away because they're just so tiny and cute. Oh, I love them. Anyway, yeah, so sleep suits again are a big thing that they talk about in hospital. What they tend to do with my son, what they did was they asked me to put him in a long sleeve top or long sleeve vest, and then the sleep suit, and then a cardigan on top of that, because he was taken into an ICU and it can get quite chilly down there, so they like to have them in quite a few layers. So yeah, it's always worth packing a few sleep suits. Also, like I said, different sizes as well, just in case the size that you thought your baby was going to be doesn't actually fit them. I have on the list mittens and cardigans. Mittens I don't actually have anymore because, again, he didn't wear them, well, he didn't actually wear them when he was in hospital either. What you find sometimes, if I get the sleep suit, you'll find on a lot of sleep suits that they actually have these bits, I don't know if you can see, where it actually covers, it can cover their hands. So you might not even need mittens. The whole reason they say for you to take mittens is because some newborns are born with really long nails, and because they don't have the control, like the motor skills obviously that we do, they can sometimes scratch their face, because they've never really had this freedom before, so they'll just start scratching their face because they don't realise what they're doing, they can hurt themselves. So that's why they talk about mittens. Also, a lot of midwives actually suggest not taking them, because the whole point with a newborn is that in order for them to learn to experience things, they need to be able to touch. And obviously they can't touch anything when they've got mittens on their hands, and a lot of the time they fall off anyway. So yeah, it's on the list, but I wouldn't necessarily worry about if you can't find mittens or you don't think like you have enough. Really don't worry, because I didn't end up using them. I think a lot of people don't end up using them, and a lot of midwives suggest that you shouldn't use them anyway. Cardigans, again, I had one that was for him when he was newborn, but it's up in the loft now. Again, it's that whole thing of trying to put as many layers onto a baby as possible, but I think a cardigan, it's more for when they leave the hospital, especially, like I said, if your baby's born in the winter, you want to be able to make sure they're in as many layers as possible. Do not put them in those winter suits when you put them in the car seat. That's a big no-no. You don't put them in them because, one, they can suffocate, and two, I just don't think I think the whole thing is they can actually slip out of them because they're not secure themselves in the car seat if they're in a sleep suit or a big puffy suit. So yeah, so a cardigan, or like I've got hoodies for him as well. They're quite good as well. Just lots of thin layers are what's recommended. Blankets. I love this blanket. Little, I think it's John Lewis. I think my mum got for me before he was born. It's such a beautiful blanket. I love it. Yeah, recommend taking these to hospital because again, it's all to do with when the baby's laying there next to you and keeping them as warm as possible. Especially if they have to go for tests and stuff, they always recommend wrapping them up. Also, blankets are really good to try and learn to swaddle, because with newborns as well, they might not settle because obviously think they've been in a womb for 9 months. All they've known is just being tight and snug like that. So midwives recommend swaddling babies when they're first born, just to help them settle, because a lot of the time they might wake up because their arms are back here and it makes them feel really insecure and frightened. So blankets really help you to swaddle them as well as keeping them warm. And also it can help with settling them in terms of if you keep it close to you, like during labour or while you're in the room and stuff, it will have your smell on it, so it will comfort the baby that way as well, because obviously the baby will know your smell from inside the womb. It's really weird. I don't know how they actually smell you from inside, but yeah, apparently that's a thing. And these things are a godsend, and I absolutely love them. I have so many of them, and I have at least 2 in each room of the house and about 5 in my nappy bag. They're amazing. They're just cheap cloths. You can get them for like £1 or something in Primark. They're so good to have. And they're called muslin squares, but I call them muzzies, just so people don't think I'm talking about having a Muslim in my bag. But yeah, all they are just cheap, thin pieces of cloth, and they are fantastic for clearing up, especially when the babies are older. They clear up, wipe dribble off their faces, food if they're weaning, but most importantly with newborns, they're really good for obviously if they have a lot of spit up, because when your baby's first born, they have a lot of mucus inside their stomach. Well, if they're born vaginally, they'll have a lot of mucus in their stomach from the birth canal and everything. So that's why technically you kind of have to force feed a newborn to bring that mucus up, because obviously the baby thinks it's full, but it's not, because it's full of crap. So so you will need to make your baby sick, and muzzies are really good for spit up and sick. Obviously they have to go in the washing machine after, or you can just throw them away because they're so cheap, but a lot of them, they wash up so well. I keep them. I haven't had to throw any away yet, so definitely worth investing in some of these, especially Primark, because they do some really lovely ones. They even do like Winnie the Pooh ones. I have a set of Winnie the Pooh ones. They're so cute. Obviously another very important thing to have, nappies. Yeah, just pack as many as you can, because you don't know how pooey, how wet your baby's nappy is going to be. Obviously you have to change it as soon as you know that your baby's done a wee or a poo or whatever. With the ones that I had when he was first born, it had the line on the front, so the line went blue to say if he'd actually wet it. So so that was really good for a first time mum, because you don't really know what you're looking for, like the smell or anything like that. So now he's a bit older. These are size 4 now, so so they don't have any of that, but you know when he's full because they just blue now because it's just so full of wee. But yeah, as many nappies as you can. We're actually stepping away from these nappies now. We're looking to do cloth nappies, so we're slowly staging these out. But while you're when you're a first-time mum, I would suggest just buying disposable nappies until you're comfortable changing them or used to dealing with poo and wee, and then you can move on to cloth nappies, because they're such a good idea, and they're really good for the environment, and they're actually really easy to use and to keep washing, and obviously in the long run a lot cheaper than disposable. Okay, so on the list I have cotton wool. and a cup, like a container for you to put some water in. Originally we were told that this would be the best thing because it's the most natural thing to use when you change a baby's nappy, because obviously chemicals on newborn baby's skin is not a good idea because they've got very sensitive skin. Unfortunately, when I went to hospital and I had cotton wool in my bag and the little cup, the midwife that had to change my baby's first nappy, because I couldn't do it, I was in bed and I couldn't move because I'd had an epidural. She wasn't too happy with having to use it, and now I can understand why, because with a baby's first poo, it's like tar. It is so thick and sticky and disgusting that cotton wool just isn't going to cut it at all. It just comes off in bits, it goes everywhere. It's just really, really not worth it. So ones I would actually highly recommend are water wipes. They are that little bit more expensive than like the cheap ones you could probably get from Asda or like Lidl or Aldi or whatever. But these ones I've used since he was born, and they are just so good for newborn baby's skin, like for sensitive skin, because it's just water on wipes. That's why you think it's a rip-off that they're so expensive, because it's literally water. I do think they're really worth. Even if you just buy like a couple, like a few packs just to get you through, and then you can, like, we're moving on to cloth wipes soon, like the reusable wipes. We're waiting for the delivery to actually come through, so we won't need to use these, or we'll only use them when we're going out and about. But yeah, I'd highly recommend buying a couple of these and then moving on to cloth wipes if you can, because these are definitely worth, for newborn baby's skin, they're just so worth it. And this is something that obviously won't fit in the baby's bag, but obviously it's something that's very important, is the car seat. A lot of places, I don't know if this goes for every hospital, but they will actually check to make sure you actually have a car seat, like a decent car seat, before they let you take the baby from the hospital. So always make sure you, 1, know how to use it, and 2, that you have it with you. Because yeah, it can be quite awkward when you're like sleep deprived, you just had a newborn baby, so your head's all over the place and you have not got a clue how to put your car seat in the car. So that's one thing to definitely remember. Hats. Now with hats, it's worth taking a few, and this is where another thing comes into play as well, because you will need at least one hat for when the baby's born. Because when the baby's born, obviously, like I said before, they can't regulate their own heat, their own body temperature, and they lose all the heat in their body through their head. So as soon as they're born, if you think about it, they're all wet, they're scared and everything like that. They make contact with the air, they're going to be losing all this heat, so they're going to get cold. So what you'll find is the midwife will ask you very quickly where their hat is. So your husband or your partner or whatever is going to be like super, like all over the place, emotional. His child has just been born. What does he do? Blah, blah, blah. So he's going to go through the baby bag and he's going to pick out the first thing that resembles a hat that he can find. So if you have a going home hat and a when first born hat, because obviously you don't want to put the going home hat on when the baby's first born, because it's going to get very, very dirty. So you need to make sure that your husband knows exactly, or your partner, I keep saying husband, your partner knows which hat needs to go where. So it's worth, like, because obviously I did it as well. You pack, you repack, you unpack, you pack and repack at least 5 times your hospital bag before you even need to use it. So you know what's in there. It's worth, in 1 or 2 of those occasions that you actually unpack and repack, you have your partner with you so they know what's what. I think there was someone, the midwife said, it was very organised, and she actually had Ziploc bags for everything, and it had all labels on there, so her husband could really easily go in and pick out, oh, this is the hat for when the baby's first born, put that on, not use the going home hat and get it all covered in blood and God knows what. So yeah, hats, more than one, and make sure you are very distinctive about which hat is which. I was never fussed, actually. I was just like, whatever, I don't really care. But yeah, a lot of people are really sort of protective over their going home hat. So make sure your partner knows which is the going home hat. And last but not least, for the baby is also their going home outfit. It always, like I said, it's with a baby, you need to remember it's lots of thin layers. So even in the summer, they need to be wrapped up a bit. So I think what the midwives say, it's always think of what you're wearing. So at the moment I'm wearing a t-shirt. So with a newborn, they need to wear 1 extra layer So obviously he'd be in like a short sleeved or long sleeved vest and then have a cardigan on top, just to make sure that they're not too cold. And also, like I said, when you put them in the car seat, you don't want them to be too sort of bunged up so that they're not fully secure within the straps. So yeah, make sure that the going home outfit, that it's several layers, and like obviously just go as cute as possible. Go mad. As long as it's comfortable for them and they're warm, that's all that matters. An important note, if you're, again, depending on whether you're breastfeeding or formula feeding, if you're breastfeeding, you don't need to take any of this stuff with you. But if you're struggling with attaching the baby to the breast, like what I did, the maternity ward will actually supply you with formula just to make sure that the baby's fed. But if you plan on formula feeding from the get-go, then this is stuff that you do have to have in your bag, and that's formula and bottles. They'll supply the hot water for you, you don't have to worry about that, but you need to be the person that supplies the formula, because obviously this is the formula that you've chosen to feed your baby, and also the type of bottles that you're going to use, because that baby's going to be getting used to that type of bottle, because that's what you're going to be using. So yeah, so that's another big thing to remember in terms of, if you're breastfeeding, you don't have to worry about this. I thought I might have to, just in case, but it turns out that the hospitals do, or most of the time they do actually provide you with formula if they know you're trying to breastfeed. If they know you're formula feeding, they're not going to waste their money on you, to be frank about it, because yeah, you're going to be using the formula anyway, so you might as well take your own. And yeah, the final one is actually for birth partners, because we can't forget about them, bless them. But I mean, a lot of the stuff, some of the stuff is actually just for us as well, so it's not just for them. Like I got on the list here, water spray or a fan, just anything that will help to keep you cool and comfortable. It's not worth putting it in your bag because you've got enough to carry, so it's always worth the partner taking it, because they're the one that's going to be using it for you. So if they can get like a little spray of water, or handheld fan or electric fan, just so they can hold it in your face if you need it. It's always just little things that help, basically. For them, comfortable shoes, because they're going to be probably pacing the floor, standing up, and yeah, just running around in general. So it's always good that they need to have comfortable shoes. Also a change of clothes for them, because obviously, again, they don't know, you might be sick on them, you might bleed on them, you might just sweat all over them or whatever. They might hold the baby, so they get everything else on them. So it's always good for them to have a change of clothes, again, just so they feel a bit more human afterwards. And obviously, if they've been there for a long period of time, you don't know how long the labour can last, a couple of days, so it's always worth them having a change of clothes so they don't smell. And also, yeah, it just makes you don't realise how much it helps to be in fresh clothes when you're in that sort of situation. Swimwear is essential for them to have if they're getting in the birthing pool with you. Some obviously don't want to, but it's worth them having just in case they do decide, actually, I want to get in. So yeah, always make sure that you have swimwear. Don't get in naked. Mobile phone and charger, so important, because obviously you're going to be pushing a baby out. You're not going to have time to take photos or video or whatever, so your partner is the person that's going to be collecting all these memories for you. So they can even take a camera, but obviously I think the phone is most convenient because they can just whip it out of their pocket and just take pictures. So yeah, and also contact numbers for relatives will be on your phone, so they can let you know, let them know what stage of the labour you're at if you've had the baby and everything. So yeah, leave that stuff to them, to worry. And also chargers, most important thing. You don't want to be getting to the picture of if you holding your baby for the first time and the battery was run out. So chargers, very important. And again, they're also good to have as an extra thing, to have extra snacks and drinks for you, just in case you eat and drink through all the ones that you had in your bag. But also they'll need it as well, because they'll be the ones that are supporting you, so they'll need to keep their energy up in order to help you through it. So yeah, so that's my guide to what to pack in your hospital bag. I'm hoping it's helped some people to have a better idea of what to actually take with them. If there's anything you think that I missed off the list, then obviously do let me know. And if there's any questions you have about oh, should I take this or this, again, just leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you and say whether or not you need it. Again, it's all just about making you as comfortable and at home as possible if you're not having a home birth. it is just so important, because you need to be relaxed when you're having this baby. It's stressful enough knowing that you're about to push a human out of your downstairs. You need to be as comfortable and as relaxed as possible. It's all about you at the end of the day, and that getting that baby out safe. If you don't feel at home or you feel stressed, that's not going to help the situation. I hope you enjoyed the video. I think the next video will probably be about hypnobirthing and why I chose a home birth and everything. So it kind of fits in a little bit with the stuff that I've talked about in this. So yeah, anyway, have a good one guys, and I shall see you all in the next video. Bye!